to the President of the United States, who is to be.
I'd like to ask the President of the United States a question. I'm Benjamin Sosman of the Wichita Beacon. Have you read, Mr. President, ahead of you, new book, Mr. Citizen of the Kennedy?
Yes, and he also gave me a copy of it today, the author's edition.
Thank you, Ben, for that advertisement. Come on, Eddie. What is it?
Mr. President, Bailey, call provocation. On July 2, I believe you said that you thought the convention was going to be fixed. Did you change your opinion?
I didn't say that. I said it looked to me as if the convention was already made up the way it was supposed to go, and that was what the trouble was. And it was, and it came out all right. They nominated a man, and I'm going to support him. Now, what are you going to do about that?
Mr. President, did you and Senator Kennedy talk over the things that Senator Kennedy would like you during the campaign, sir?
Yes. You have to ask the senator about it. He can answer that question much better than I can.
Yes, I asked President Truman to participate actively in the campaign and travel through the country, and he said he would.
If Mr. President or Senator Kennedy would ask the question, is there any dates or places that you can tell us about now where Mr. Truman will campaign?
I have only one firm commitment, and that's at Marion, Indiana, for a Labor Day meeting on the 5th day of September. And I've discussed the other proposed meetings with Senator Kennedy, and he's approved of one at Marion, Indiana.
Well, may I ask, is it quite probable that there will be one in New York City, sir?
Yes, well, I asked President Truman if he would come to New York City, and he said he would.
Mr. President, do you plan to use what is known as the give 'em hell style?
I never did have a give 'em hell style. I used to tell the truth on the Republicans, and they sold us hell. That's all good. Always discussed.
Do you have any plans, either in the formative stages, or have you thought about asking President Truman to become an official or unofficial foreign policy advisor for election?
No, but I think President Truman is a source of advice and counsel on all issues, including, of course, foreign policy. But that was one of the reasons why I was anxious to talk with him this morning.
President, both of the WBAS. There have been some complaints by newsmen that the incumbent president does not hold news conferences often enough. If you're elected president, what will your policy be in regard to the holding of news conferences?
Well, I think it's probably a question that would better wait, but I do think it's useful to see the press. I think the custom has been once a week, and I would think that whoever is president would certainly see the press at least once a week.
If you don't, they'll lie on you.
Did you make any recommendations to a candidate about foreign policy? Any specific recommendations?
The recommendations that I make are made on questions from the candidate for president as a result of my experience, and you'll have to ask him about that.
Well, with the President, I'd like to ask you a question concerning something about which you should be an expert.
I'm an expert in nothing, Eddie, but go ahead.
The Gallup poll recently showed Vice President Nixon leading Senator Kennedy by, I think it was 50 to
44.
44. I'd like to have your comment, sir.
Eddie, do you remember a Gallup poll that showed Dewey to be 60 to 42 in 1948? That's about the same answer.
60 to 42.
I know you was. That's my viewpoint on polls. I don't think much of them, but then the senator must make up his own mind on that. I don't have any use for polls. They don't mean a thing.
Well, we have a hard fight in those areas. When I refer to the 50 states, I try to make it clear that there isn't a single state that we'd write off. I want to make that abundantly clear. We do have a hard fight in Texas, I would say in Florida, Virginia, and possibly in Oklahoma. But a hard fight may be a good thing for us because I think it'll make us redouble our efforts to win. But we can carry those states, and I'm confident we will. The most encouraging part of it is the fact that the hard-working Democrats in those areas now recognize that we do have a fight, and they're in there pitching. This, to me, is the most hopeful sign. And we have other areas where we have.
What have you and the candidate accomplished this morning? Just what
Continue to tell the truth on them, and of course they'll still think it's hell, I guess. They had a truth squad, in other words. They had a truth squad to follow me around, Senator, you remember, and I invited him to get on the train, and he was afraid. He couldn't.
They revived it again. Of course, the truth doesn't need a squad.
Not so.
Mr. President, so far of all of our time, what caused you to decide that Senator Kennedy was ready for the country?
prospects for the Kennedy-Johnson ticket in your home state of Missouri?
Carry it by an overwhelming majority. Don't you worry about that.
I'd like to ask the senator, we've been hearing of him this week as not being in the best of health. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm all recovered.
Your voice,
Yes.
your sinus?
It's all right.
Mighty glad to see you looking so well.
Thank you very much.
When the Democratic Convention decided to nominate him for president, that's all the answer you need. The National Democratic Convention is the law for the Democratic Party. And I'm a Democrat, and I follow the law.
Say that we have a tough fight. In some areas it may be uphill, but my judgment is that we're going to win after a very vigorous campaign, and I'm particularly glad that the President is going to join with us. We need the help of Democrats like him. I think we can get it. I think the fact that he's willing to travel the country on behalf of a candidate who runs in almost 12 years after he won his victory in 48, I think that gives us great encouragement. So I must say that I'm delighted that we all had a chance to come, and I'm delighted that the President has been willing to associate himself in this strong way with our campaign.
Accomplished enough to win the war, that's all. Isn't that enough? There are 3 or 4 of them. Principal ones, I think, is the destruction of the foreign policy of the United States of America. And the next one is the handling of the agricultural policy. You know, they quarrel about what it costs to have an agricultural policy in this country. It cost $1 billion the last 2 years I was in office. It's now costing $6 billion. The operation of the national debt and the handling of the finances of the United States has been a disgrace to the country, and it's cost the poor people about $20 billion. I think those are the principal issues, and I shouldn't speak for you, Senator, because you know what they are as well as I do. You've been there.
Kennedy say something about that?
We didn't discuss the details of the farm program. I think we talked about the Democratic platform, and I think the Democratic platform on farm policy is admirable, and I support it strongly.
In that connection, did you ask the President to do anything other than participate in the speaking engagements in the campaign?
No, that's what we discussed.
He's a member of Congress, and I'm not, and you have to ask him about that.
Senator Kennedy, have you asked Mr. Truman to talk on any particular issue such as the farm program or national campaign?
No, whatever he talks about will be appropriate.
Mr. President, Charles Von Friend, CBS News. You say that as a good Democrat, you, of course, will support Senator Kennedy. You told us out here before Los Angeles that you felt that Senator Kennedy was too young and inexperienced.
The National Democratic, I said the National Democratic Convention solved that, and that's all there is to that.
You now feel that
That's all there is to that.
Senator, you spoke of asking the President to campaign for you in New York. Could you tell us some of the other places you discussed with him, as places where you'd like to have him come in?
No, but we did just mention New York, and there were some other states. But I think I think that the Democratic National Committee is going to be talking to President Truman about his schedule. But we did happen to mention New York. I think he was talking about going to make a farm speech and in some other areas, but I think it would be better to wait till we have it lined up.
President, you said that you'll win Missouri overwhelmingly. Would you care to make a prediction about the country?
I'm no political prophet nor pollster, and I can't I can't answer that question for the simple reason that I don't have any faith in political prophets or pollsters, because the Democrats are going to win. That's all there is to it.
I want to direct a question to the new national chairman of the Democratic Party, Senator Jackson from Washington. I know that you're going to do an able job of leadership. What do you think Senator Kennedy's chances are going to be?
There's no doubt about what the chances are. He's going to win. Let me state it this way. I can say in all candor, if a party chairman can be candid, that there's not a single state that is chairman that I would be warranted in writing off today to the Republicans. Not a single state. In other words, we have a chance to win in all 50, and we're going to put up a fight in all 50. And we're going to win. And I don't think you can name a state where an objective reporter could come up and say the Democrats don't have a chance.
I think that's right.
I'd be interested in the state. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to carry it necessarily, but there isn't a single state. Vermont and Maine were famous in '36. Maine is now a Democratic state, or at least it's a strong two-party state. We have a governor, a senator, and 2 out of the 3 congressmen. And in Vermont, we elected a congressman for the first time in 102 years or 6 years. So that's the best way I can say it. Excuse me.
I wonder if you could give us just a little detail on your talk. What did you talk about? How did it go? Any detail we appreciate. Any detail.
We didn't have any recording machine, but we talked about winning an election, and that's what we're going to do.
Do you have any plans for further conferences with the President concerning either campaign plans or policy?
Yes, I will be talking with him during the campaign.
Senator Kennedy, Bob Slater, St. Joseph News Press. We've heard President Truman and Senator Jackson analysis of your chances for November. Would you care to give us your own analysis at this time?
Yes, I'm...
Kennedy, Green, KCMO News, you said some areas might be difficult. Would you spell that out?
No, I just think it's going to be a hard-fought campaign and a tough campaign. I don't take the view that we'll win 50 states, but Senator Jackson may be right.
I think we've been fortunate to hear from most of the team. I think we ought to hear from the senator from the great state of Missouri, Senator Simington, what he thinks about it all.
Well, I'm glad to be here with Senator Kennedy. That's a privilege in itself. It's a great honor for both of us to be here with President Truman. And I'm confident that the President will give all his support. He told me that before to Senator Kennedy. And I think that's going to be very helpful. I fully concur with the President when he says that Missouri is going Democratic for Senator Kennedy. And I believe he's made a very wise choice in Senator Jackson, who's been my colleague for many years in the Senate. We sit next to each other. He's one of the hardest working and most dedicated Democrats I know. And although it's wrong to be over-optimistic, I'm confident that the people of the United States are going to elect Senator Kennedy president in November.
Senator Kennedy, Mr. Johnson, Associated Press. I have a query from Massachusetts. They want to know if you have endorsed Endicott Peabody for the Democratic governor of Massachusetts.
No, I'm not taking any position in the primaries in Massachusetts.
You're correct.
I'd like to address a question to Senator Kennedy and Senator Jackson. Senator, when Senator Johnson became the vice presidential nominee in Los Angeles, most people regard it as a 10 strike. Thought it would assure carrying Texas, other states in the South. I believe the Republicans at first thought that. Now they seem to have some second thoughts on that. Leonard Hall, I think, sincerely, is now talking about carrying Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and some other states in the South. I don't think it's just campaign talk. I wondered if you or Senator Jackson would comment on it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
There's a guy who knows his job.